Hi there, Kate Bora and Fiona Pearman, joining you for this week's live as we continue to dig into the conversation around career crisis and why we avoid it. I think, Fiona, we talk so much to so many women who stay in this vortex for way too long, and often a really painful vortex. And I think it's worth really digging into some of the reasons that we avoid, even opening up the Pandora's box when it comes to this career crisis piece. And I think the first reason that we don't want to even go near this is fear of the unknown. The uncertainty of what comes next, the self-talk of, will I be as good? What if no one else hires me? What if there's nothing better? What if this is as good as it gets can play really loud in our inner world. And so in those contexts, often the known misery feels safer than the risk of the unknown possibilities. Even if staying feels uncomfortable, feels a little bit painful. And I think that piece of, if I actually really admit that this isn't working, then I have to continue the conversation of, then where to from here? What am I going to do?
Yeah, and I think what another reason we avoid this getting into what's going on in terms of a career crisis is there's a lot of fear around losing our job, our financial security, and our lifestyle flexibility. We often think, it's just not too bad where I am. When I look around, I've got my regular pay, it's coming in. I've been here for a while, so I'm unlikely to be made redundant. I've got a flexible schedule that works for me. I'm able to do some remote work. I've sort of built quite a good lifestyle around this job, even if the job itself is actually a bit frustrating or disappointing. I've lost my mojo. I'm not that engaged. The idea of starting over, of having to figure out financially, logistically, all the things that would need to be different, it just can feel really challenging. And so while you might be craving something different, those practical concerns, the tangible realities around money, your benefits, the stability, the things you have can be a really heavy anchor and can stop us wanting to lean into and think about what's possible.
Yeah, I think the third one that was very present for me as I transitioned out of my executive career into my consulting career and sort of running my own business was really this connection between our identity and our professional success. Salary, titles, the organizations we work with, these sort of external markers of success, for many of us, have a really significant link to how we feel about ourselves. And so acknowledging that maybe that doesn't feel so good or that's no longer enough can sometimes feel like a bit of a failure, especially if we've made a ton of compromise, particularly in our personal life, to be able to achieve that professional success. It can be really confronting in terms of walking away from that. But I think the other piece that can come up from is, you know, if I leave this, then who am I without these titles, without these salaries? But equally, what will other people think of me if I walk away from all of this?
Certainly. The fourth one that we see continually is the fact that as women, we've been conditioned to tolerate rather than to think about transforming or changing. From a very young age, we are constantly bombarded with messaging that tells us the right ways to stay, to stick through, to be loyal, to be grateful, not to arc up, not to speak up, to push through, to make something work. And all of this subliminal messaging, it sits within us and it's part of who we are. So when we start to feel dissatisfied and we know intuitively it's not right, we've also got this other voice that's countering that and it's saying, but my situation's not that bad. And maybe I'm just being ungrateful, or, there's so many other people who are worse off than me. And so we can get caught up in that thinking that means we just rather stick where we are rather than delve into what could be possible.
Yeah, I think the fifth piece of why it's hard and why we avoid it is, exhaustion or the signals of a career crisis is low and no energy. It's exhaustion. And so when you're just trying to get through the week, we don't have the emotional, the mental, the physical capacity to be able to do the work to get clear, to understand what's going on for me, to understand the shifts and changes that I want to make in life, and to have then the courage to take action on that. So it can feel easier to distract ourselves or numb ourselves with another glass of wine, or being really busy with planning the next holiday, because we're too tired to think about, what else, or what we could do differently.
And I think the sixth one that's really important is we're just not clear. We're so busy in what we're doing, we're so subsumed that we don't know exactly what's going on. We may not have dug in enough around that. And we certainly are really unclear about what could be next. And so it's hard to act on something when it's all a bit murky and vague. And so while lots of women we talk to know something's off, they'll say to us, it's not quite working for me. I'm not happy the way I used to be. I've noticed that Mondays I don't feel very energized, but they haven't really named the problem and they haven't really examined what's going on. And, understandably, because it's likely to be painful, it's likely to feel uncomfortable. And so they're feeling stuck, but they really don't know what else to do. And the thing we've seen time and time again is avoiding this pain, avoiding the truth does not protect you. It doesn't help. Longer term, it simply prolongs that pain. And virtually every situation with someone we've spoken to, when they've done the work, when they've come into our programs, when they've worked with us, on the other side, they look back and they say, oh my goodness, if only I'd taken action earlier, if only I'd been willing to face into it, to deal with the things I was avoiding, then I could have got here so much sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, or you know someone in your network who'd benefit from this conversation, we'd love for you to share it with them. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to dig more into and hear more of our confidence conversations, head over to our YouTube channel. Hundreds of videos over there. We've been having some great conversations around feedback, boundaries this year, which is very relevant, I think, to these topics. And you'll also be able to see over 50 of our clients who have been through the Acts of Confidence program sharing the impact the work has had on their careers and lives. And if you'd like to find out more about the Acts of Confidence program or go deeper with your relationship with Core Confidence, please visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.